Hey everybody. So you like the Padre hat? I got this with Ray Machado down at the Padres store. It was ridiculously expensive, but pretty unique. So I got it. Anyways, dude, actually Ray's texting me right now while I'm making this video. Anyways, wanted to just kind of tell you guys a quick story. And this is a story I get asked about a lot, because one of the somewhat unique things about me is that I've never had alcohol or drugs or anything like that. And people want to know why. And the short answer is because my parents were drug addicts and alcoholics. And so when I was a little kid, drugs and alcohol were a very common, obvious thing at the house. It was not a secret, not an open secret. It was just open. And I always sort of had a revulsion, I guess it would be, to the way my parents acted together, and then after they divorced separately, when they were on drugs and alcohol. And so I was sort of predisposed to not like it from the beginning, because there was a lot of crazy stuff that went on when they were doing drugs and alcohol. But I was also in school. They had DARE at the time, Drug Abuse Resistance Education. And there was just starting to be some conversations about the genetics of addiction. And I remember thinking in class one day, I said, if there's any truth to the genetics of addiction, then that means that I have potentially the gene if my parents are drug addicts, which I knew they were. So logic would say that the only way to 100% avoid ever becoming an alcoholic or drug addict yourself is to never do it. Never let it into your system. If it never enters your system, you have a 100% chance of never being an alcoholic or a drug addict. And so that was sort of my thought process. But the day that it actually happened, the day that I made the ultimate decision about this, I was about 11 years old. I was living in this sort of rundown, crappy townhouse with my mom and her meth addict boyfriend. My mom was a meth addict as well. And we rarely had food at that house. And my mom had told us the night before that we were going to have food the next day. And I was always an early riser, still am. So like 5:30, I'm like, bing, wide awake. What's going on? Who's up? Nobody's up. Let's watch some cartoons. And that morning I woke up, bing, 5:30, and I ran downstairs because I'm like, oh, I'm getting some cereal. Like, this is on, right? And I got down there and I looked at the table, and there was an empty box of Cocoa Puffs on the table. There was a half-empty bottle of milk, and the milk was warm. And there was bowls like on the table. And I look in the living room, and several of my mom's drug addict friends were passed out in the living room, literally holding a bowl. They had eaten the cereal. And I looked at it, and I literally, my little 11-year-old brain said, these ate my cereal. They ate our cereal. And I looked back at the table, and on the table next to the empty cereal was a mirror with a line of methamphetamine on it, and a little straw next to it, and a razor blade. And I instantly made the connection. I said, the reason why our power gets turned off is because of drugs. The reason that we don't have food is because of drugs and alcohol. The reason why my parents make really, really terrible decisions all the time is because of drugs and alcohol, because their minds are rotting on this stuff. And I took those pieces of things that I learned in DARE with my own sort of logic and this experience. And at that moment, I turned off the option of doing drugs and alcohol. And so I just said, I'm never going to do it. And even though people talk about peer pressure, there is really no peer pressure if you just say, no, I'm not going to do it, and here's the reason why. People go, oh, okay, I'm just not going to ask you anymore. And so that's the reason why I did that. And that's also the reason why I got involved with drug and alcohol prevention as an adult, is because I saw this as an opportunity to help young kids who came from a similar background as me, or maybe not the same background, make a similar decision. And that was to choose a foundation of sobriety in their life that gives you a solid foundation upon which you could build the life that you want. That's that.